The world watches as President Trump, a man known for his bold pronouncements and even bolder actions, takes center stage in the global trade arena. His weapon of choice? Tariffs. With a flick of his pen, Trump has imposed sweeping tariffs on a vast array of imports, targeting countries large and small, rich and poor. From cars to computers, from steel to soybeans, few goods escape the reach of these new levies. The president's message is clear: America first. Trump's stated aim is to protect American jobs and industries from what he perceives as unfair foreign competition. He argues that decades of globalization have hollowed out America's manufacturing base, leaving behind shuttered factories and unemployed workers. The trade deficit, in his view, is a glaring symbol of America's decline, a sign that other countries are taking advantage of the United States. These tariffs, however, are not merely about economics, they are about power. Trump sees trade as a zero-sum game, where one country's gain is another's loss. He believes that the United States has been too willing to play by the rules of a global trading system that he sees as rigged against American interests. With his signature blend of bravado and bluster, Trump has launched a full-scale trade war, a conflict with potentially far-reaching consequences for the US economy and the global order. Trump's embrace of protectionism is not without precedent in American history. From the earliest days of the Republic, tariffs have been a recurring theme in US economic policy. Alexander Hamilton, the nation's first Treasury Secretary, was a staunch advocate for tariffs as a means of protecting infant industries and promoting domestic manufacturing. Throughout the 19th century, the United States pursued a policy of relatively high tariffs, particularly on manufactured goods. This protectionist stance was driven by a desire to shield American industries from foreign competition and to foster the growth of a domestic industrial base. The Tariff of Abominations of 1828, so named by its southern opponents, sparked a major political crisis and nearly led to the secession of South Carolina. The early 20th century saw a continuation of these protectionist policies, culminating in the infamous Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930. This act, which raised tariffs to record levels, is widely blamed for exacerbating the Great Depression by stifling international trade and triggering a wave of retaliatory tariffs from other countries. The experience of the Great Depression led to a sea change in US trade policy. In the aftermath of World War II, the United States emerged as a leading advocate for free trade, spearheading the creation of the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, or GATT, and its successor, the World Trade Organization, or WTO. These institutions were founded on the belief that free trade promotes economic growth and international cooperation. The spectre of Smoot-Hawley looms large over the current trade debate. Passed in 1930, at the onset of the Great Depression, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act raised tariffs on over 20,000 imported goods to record levels. The act, intended to protect American farmers and manufacturers from foreign competition, had disastrous consequences. Rather than shielding American industries, Smoot-Hawley triggered a global trade war. Countries around the world retaliated with their own tariffs, bringing international trade to a grinding halt. The collapse of trade deepened the Great Depression, throwing millions into unemployment and plunging the world into economic chaos. Economists continue to debate the precise role of Smoot-Hawley in the Great Depression. Some argue that it was a major contributing factor, while others believe its impact was less significant than other factors, such as the collapse of the banking system. Regardless of the exact magnitude of its impact, Smoot-Hawley serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of protectionism. It illustrates how tariffs intended to protect domestic industries can backfire, leading to higher prices for consumers, retaliation from trading partners, and a downward spiral in global trade. The ghost of Smoot-Hawley haunts the current trade debate, a cautionary tale whispering of the perils of protectionism. It serves as a stark warning that tariffs, while seemingly a simple solution to complex economic problems, can have unintended and far-reaching consequences. At the heart of the debate over tariffs lies a fundamental economic principle: comparative advantage. First articulated by British economist David Ricardo in the early 19th century, comparative advantage argues that countries should specialize in producing the goods and services they can produce most efficiently, even if they could produce other goods more efficiently in absolute terms. Ricardo's theory rests on the idea that trade is not a zero-sum game. By specializing in the production of goods where they have a comparative advantage and trading with other countries, nations can consume more goods and services than they could produce on their own. This leads to higher living standards for all involved. Trump's tariffs represent a direct challenge to the principle of comparative advantage. By imposing tariffs on a wide range of imports, Trump seeks to reverse the forces of globalization and bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. However, economists warn that this approach is likely to be counterproductive. Tariffs, they argue, will raise prices for consumers and businesses, reducing purchasing power and dampening economic growth. Moreover, tariffs distort market signals, leading to an inefficient allocation of resources. In the long run, tariffs are likely to harm the very industries they are intended to protect. Section 5. The Global Trade Web Unraveling Under Pressure. The global economy, a complex web of interconnected supply chains and trading relationships, is reeling from the shockwaves of Trump's tariffs. The tariffs, like tremors along fault lines, are disrupting the delicate balance of international trade, threatening to unravel the very fabric of globalization. For decades, the global economy has thrived on the principle of comparative advantage. Countries specialize in producing goods and services where they have a relative edge, whether it be in terms of natural resources, skilled labor, or technological prowess. This specialization allows nations to produce more efficiently and at lower costs, ultimately benefiting consumers worldwide. Trump's tariffs, however, are throwing a wrench into the gears of this well-oiled machine. By imposing barriers to trade, these tariffs are disrupting global supply chains, forcing companies to rethink their sourcing strategies and potentially leading to higher costs for consumers. The tariffs are also fueling uncertainty and undermining business confidence. Companies are hesitant to make long-term investments in an environment where trade policy is unpredictable and subject to the whims of political leaders. This uncertainty can have a chilling effect on investment and economic growth. Section 6. The Price of Protection. Economic fallout ahead. The economic fallout from Trump's tariffs is already being felt across the globe. From farmers in the American heartland to factory workers in China, the tariffs are rippling through the global economy, leaving a trail of economic pain and uncertainty in their wake. One of the most immediate and visible impacts of the tariffs is rising prices for consumers. Tariffs are essentially taxes on imported goods, and these taxes are often passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. This is particularly true for goods that are heavily reliant on imported components, such as cars, electronics, and clothing. The tariffs are also disrupting global supply chains, forcing companies to scramble to find alternative sources for their inputs. This disruption is leading to higher costs, production delays, and lost sales. In some cases, companies are being forced to relocate their operations to avoid the tariffs, resulting in job losses and economic dislocation. The tariffs are also fueling inflation. As the cost of imported goods rises, businesses are forced to raise prices to maintain their profit margins. This can lead to a wage price spiral, where rising prices lead to demands for higher wages, which in turn can lead to further price increases. Section 7. Political fault lines. The tariff tango's domestic impact. The tariff tango is not just an economic dance, it's a political one too. Within the United States, Trump's tariffs have exacerbated existing political fault lines, pitting industries and regions against each other in a battle over the costs and benefits of protectionism. On one side of the divide are industries that stand to benefit from the tariffs, such as steel and aluminum producers. These industries argue that they have been unfairly targeted by foreign competition and that tariffs are necessary to level the playing field. They point to job losses and factory closures as evidence of the damage caused by globalization. On the other side are industries that rely heavily on imported goods, such as manufacturers, retailers, and farmers. These industries argue that tariffs will raise their costs, reduce their competitiveness, and ultimately harm American consumers. They point to the potential for higher prices, job losses, and economic disruption as evidence of the dangers of protectionism. The tariffs have also exposed regional divisions within the United States. States that are heavily reliant on manufacturing, such as Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, are more likely to support the tariffs as they see them as a way to protect jobs and boost their local economies. States that are more reliant on trade, such as Texas, California, and New York, are more likely to oppose the tariffs as they fear they will harm their economies. Section 8. Beyond the balance sheet, international relations in flux. The reverberations of Trump's tariff tango extend far beyond the realm of economics, shaking the foundations of international relations and reshaping the global order. The tariffs, seen by many as a retreat from the rules-based trading system that has underpinned global prosperity for decades, are fueling tensions between the United States and its allies and rivals alike. The European Union, Canada, and Mexico, long-standing trading partners of the United States, have responded to Trump's tariffs with retaliatory measures of their own, targeting key American exports such as bourbon, motorcycles, and orange juice. These tit-for-tat tariffs threaten to escalate into a full-blown trade war, with potentially devastating consequences for all involved. The tariffs are also straining relations between the United States and China, the world's two largest economies. The Trump administration has accused China of unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and forced technology transfer. In response, the United States has imposed tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods, prompting retaliatory tariffs from Beijing. The trade war between the United States and China is about more than just economics. It is a clash of titans, a battle for global dominance in the 21st century. The outcome of this conflict will have profound implications for the future of the global economy and the balance of power in the world. Section 9. The road ahead, navigating the tariff maze. As the dust settles on the initial salvos of Trump's tariff tango, the world is left to grapple with the uncertain consequences of this bold and unpredictable trade policy. The road ahead is fraught with challenges, and the global economy stands at a crossroads. The immediate challenge is to prevent the current trade skirmishes from escalating into a full-blown trade war. This will require restraint and a willingness to compromise on all sides. The United States must be willing to engage in meaningful dialogue with its trading partners and address their concerns about its trade practices. At the same time, other countries must be prepared to stand up for their interests and resist protectionist pressures. In the longer term, the world needs to find a way to reform the global trading system to make it fairer and more equitable. The current system, while it has lifted millions out of poverty, has also created winners and losers. The benefits of globalization have not been shared equally, and many people feel left behind. A reformed trading system must address the concerns of those who have been harmed by globalization while preserving the benefits of trade for all. This will require a delicate balancing act, but it is essential if we are to create a more just and prosperous world.